Alexander Kane sat in his corner office on the 32nd floor, staring at the invitation that had just ruined his entire week. The gold lettering seemed to mock him as he read it for the 10th time. Victoria Sterling was getting married, and somehow she had the nerve to invite him to witness it. His hands trembled slightly as he set the invitation down on his mahogany desk. 3 years ago, Victoria had walked out of their marriage when his tech company was barely surviving. She had looked him straight in the eye and said he would never amount to anything. Those words still echoed in his mind during sleepless nights. Now, at 34, Alexander was worth $50 million. His company, TechVision, had become one of the fastest-growing software firms in the country. He had everything he once dreamed of, except the one thing that mattered most when Victoria left him. He had no one to share it with. The worst part was not just that Victoria was getting married. She was marrying David Chen, his former business partner who had stolen 3 major clients when their partnership ended badly. The same David who had always believed Alexander would fail. Alexander picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Jennifer, tell me you have some good news about this charity gala next month." "I'm sorry, Mr. Kane, but both Mr. Chen and his fiancée will definitely be attending. It's being hosted by the Children's Hope Foundation, and you're scheduled to give the opening speech as their biggest donor." He closed his eyes and leaned back in his leather chair. There was no way to avoid this. The foundation meant too much to him to back out now. His own difficult childhood had inspired him to support kids who needed help, and he could not let them down because of his personal problems. "Also, sir," Jennifer continued, "the media will be there. They're expecting to see you with a guest, especially since the invitation specifically mentioned bringing a +1. After hanging up, Alexander realized his problem was bigger than just facing Victoria and David. He would look pathetic showing up alone to a romantic event where his ex-wife was flaunting her new relationship. The business world was watching him, and appearing weak could affect his company's reputation. He had tried dating since his divorce, but every relationship felt forced. Women either wanted his money or seemed intimidated by his success. He had given up on finding real love and focused entirely on building his empire. But now he needed someone. Anyone to help him save face at this gala. 2 days later, Alexander found himself in his usual coffee shop, trying to work through his frustration with a strong espresso. The small cafe was a strange choice for someone of his wealth, but it reminded him of simpler times when he was just a guy with big dreams and no money. He was typing aggressively on his laptop when he heard a soft voice say, "Excuse me, I think you're in my usual spot." Alexander looked up to see a young woman with dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. She wore a paint-stained apron over jeans and a simple sweater. Her brown eyes held a mixture of exhaustion and determination that he recognized from his own mirror during his struggling years. "I'm sorry," he said, starting to gather his things. "No, please don't move," she said quickly, settling into the chair across from him. "I was just kidding. This place is big enough for both of us." She opened a worn laptop that looked like it had seen better days and pulled out a stack of design sketches. Alexander could not help but notice her work. The drawings were incredible, full of creativity and life. "Those are really good," he said, genuinely impressed. She looked up, surprised. "Thank you. I'm Maya Rodriguez. I do graphic design, among other things." "Alexander Kane," he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm despite her small stature. "Wait, Alexander Kane from TechVision?" Maya's eyes widened. "I've read about your company. What you've built is amazing." For the next hour, they talked about her work, his business, and their shared love of strong coffee. Maya was different from anyone he had met in years. She was real, honest, and completely unimpressed by his wealth. When she mentioned working 3 jobs to support her sick mother and pay off student loans, Alexander felt a connection to her struggles. As they talked, an idea began forming in his mind. It was crazy, probably wrong, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Maya," he said carefully, "this might sound strange, but I have a business proposition for you." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "I need someone to accompany me to a charity gala next month. It's a one-time thing, very important for my business. I'd pay you well for your time." Maya set down her coffee cup and studied his face. "How well?" $25,000, she nearly choked on her coffee. "I'm sorry, what?" "I know it sounds crazy, but this event is crucial for me. I need someone who can handle themselves in a high society setting. You're smart, creative, and—" He paused, realizing how this might sound. "You seem like someone who could pull it off." Maya was quiet for a long moment, her mind clearly racing. Finally, she spoke. "Why me? You could probably find someone more suitable in your social circle." Alexander looked into her honest eyes and decided to tell her the truth. "Because everyone in my world wants something from me. You're the first person I've met in years who talked to me like I was just a regular guy." "What exactly would this involve?" Maya asked slowly. "1 month of preparation, including some training on social etiquette and a few practice events. Then the gala itself. We'd need to appear as a couple, but it would be strictly professional." Maya stared at her laptop screen where her bank account balance showed $312. Her mother's medical bills were piling up and her student loan payments were already late. This stranger was offering her more money than she made in a year. "I need to think about it," she said finally. "Of course. Here's my card. Call me by tomorrow if you're interested." That night, Maya sat by her mother's bedside in their small apartment. Her mother was sleeping peacefully after another round of physical therapy. The medical expenses were crushing them, despite insurance coverage. Maya had been considering taking out another loan, but the interest rates would trap them in debt forever. She looked at Alexander's business card and thought about their conversation. He had seemed genuine, even vulnerable when he talked about his company's early days, but pretending to be someone's girlfriend, even professionally, felt wrong. Her mother stirred and opened her eyes. "How was work today, Mija?" "It was interesting, Mama. Someone offered me a freelance job. Good money, but it's complicated." "What kind of complications?" Maya explained the situation without mentioning the amount of money involved. Her mother listened carefully, then took her daughter's hand. "Sometimes life gives us strange opportunities," her mother said softly. "The question is whether we're brave enough to take them. What does your heart tell you?" The next morning, Maya called Alexander's number. Her hand shook as she dialed, but her voice was steady when he answered. "I'll do it," she said, "but I have conditions. We keep this completely professional, and I want everything in writing." "Agreed," Alexander replied, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. "Can you meet me this afternoon to discuss the details?" As Maya hung up the phone, she wondered what she had just gotten herself into. Neither she nor Alexander could have predicted that this simple business arrangement would change both of their lives forever. Maya stared at herself in the mirror of the upscale boutique, hardly recognizing the woman looking back at her. The elegant navy dress fit perfectly, and the professional stylist had transformed her usual messy bun into a sophisticated updo. She looked like she belonged in Alexander's world, but she felt like she was wearing a costume. "You look perfect," said Catherine, the etiquette coach Alexander had hired. "Remember, confidence is key. Walk like you own the room, but stay humble and interested in others." For the past 2 weeks, Maya had been living a double life. During the day, she still worked her regular jobs, but her evenings were filled with lessons on proper dining etiquette, small talk with wealthy donors, and learning about Alexander's business. The contract they had signed was detailed and professional, covering everything from public appearances to social media guidelines. Alexander had been surprisingly patient during her training. When she struggled with remembering which fork to use for the salad course, he simply smiled and said, "I had to learn all this stuff too. My grandmother taught me when I was 12 because she said I ate like a caveman." "Tonight is the practice run," Catherine announced, adjusting Maya's necklace. "Mr. Kane's company is hosting a small dinner for potential investors. Consider it your final exam." Maya's stomach twisted with nerves. She had gotten comfortable talking with Alexander over coffee, but tonight she would meet his colleagues and friends for the first time. What if they saw through her act immediately? Alexander arrived to pick her up in his sleek black car, and Maya noticed how his eyes lingered on her appearance. "You look beautiful," he said simply, and something in his voice made her cheeks warm. "Thank you. I feel like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's life. Trust me, most people in my world are playing dress-up too. The difference is you're honest about it." The dinner was held at an exclusive restaurant downtown. As they walked in, Maya felt every eye in the room turn toward them. Alexander placed his hand gently on her lower back, guiding her through the crowd, and she was surprised by how natural the gesture felt. Alexander, a tall man with silver hair, approached them. "So good to see you." And this must be the famous Maya we've heard so much about. Maya's heart skipped. Alexander had been talking about her to his friends. Maya Rodriguez, she said, extending her hand with the confidence Catherine had drilled into her. It's wonderful to meet you. Throughout the evening, Maya found herself genuinely enjoying the conversations. She discovered that beneath their expensive suits and designer dresses, Alexander's friends were just people with interesting stories. When one investor mentioned struggling to connect with his teenage daughter, Maya shared some design ideas for reaching younger audiences. Her suggestions were so practical that he asked for her business card. I'm afraid I don't have cards with me tonight, Maya said smoothly, but Alexander can connect us later. Alexander watched this exchange with growing admiration. Maya was not just playing a part. She was being herself, and people were drawn to her authenticity. When she laughed at his business partner's terrible joke, the sound was so genuine that it made him smile too. After dinner, they drove to Alexander's penthouse apartment so Maya could collect some paperwork for their next practice event. She had never been to his home before, and she was struck by how empty it felt despite its luxury. The furniture was expensive but impersonal, like a high-end hotel room. It's very clean, Maya said diplomatically, looking around the spotless living room. Alexander chuckled. You can say it's cold and unwelcoming. My housekeeper thinks the same thing. She keeps suggesting I add some personal touches. Maya walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. The view is incredible, though. You can see everything from up here. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching life happen instead of living it, Alexander admitted, joining her at the window. This place is supposed to be my sanctuary, but most nights I just work until I fall asleep on the couch. Maya turned to study his face. When was the last time you did something just for fun? Alexander thought for a moment. I honestly can't remember. Work has been my whole life since the divorce. That's sad, Alexander. You've built this amazing success, but what's the point if you're not enjoying it? Her words hit him harder than he expected. No one had spoken to him so directly in years. Everyone in his world either wanted something from him or was too intimidated to be honest. The following weekend, Alexander suggested they practice their couple dynamic at a more casual setting. He picked Maya up early Saturday morning, and instead of another formal event, he drove them to a farmer's market outside the city. This is more my speed, Maya said, relaxing as they walked between the colorful stalls. She bought fresh flowers for her mother and sampled local honey while Alexander carried her purchases. You know, people are staring at us here too, Maya observed, but it feels different. More natural. Alexander realized she was right. At formal events, their interactions felt rehearsed despite their growing comfort with each other. Here, surrounded by families and couples enjoying their Saturday morning, they seemed to fit together effortlessly. When Maya stopped to admire a display of handmade jewelry, Alexander found himself studying her profile. She had a small scar above her left eyebrow that he had never noticed before, and when she concentrated, she bit her lower lip slightly. These small details fascinated him in a way that surprised him. See anything you like? The jewelry maker asked Maya. They're all beautiful, but probably out of my budget, Maya replied honestly. After Maya moved on to another stall, Alexander quietly returned and purchased a simple silver bracelet she had admired. He told himself it was just part of maintaining their arrangement, but something deeper motivated the gesture. That afternoon, they ended up at Maya's apartment so she could change clothes before their next practice event. Alexander had never seen where she actually lived, and the contrast to his penthouse was striking. The small space was filled with warmth, from family photos covering one wall to her mother's colorful quilts draped over the furniture. Maya, is that your young man? Her mother called from the kitchen in Spanish. Mama, we've talked about this, Maya replied, switching to English. Alexander, this is my mother, Rosa. Rosa Rodriguez was a small woman with kind eyes and Maya's same warm smile. Despite her recent illness, she moved around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, insisting on making Alexander coffee and fresh pastries. Your daughter is very talented, Alexander told Rosa as Maya disappeared to change clothes. She's been a huge help with my business events. Rosa studied him carefully. She works very hard, my Maya, sometimes too hard. It's nice to see her smiling more lately. Alexander felt a strange flutter in his chest. Maya had been smiling more. Because of him? When Maya returned, She found Alexander and her mother deep in conversation about Rosa's physical therapy progress. Without thinking, Alexander had offered to help find her better treatment options through his insurance connections. "You don't need to do that," Maya said quietly as they left for their next event. "I want to help," Alexander replied, and he meant it. Somewhere between their coffee shop meeting and this moment, Maya's problems had become important to him. As they drove toward the charity fundraiser where they would practice mingling with potential gala attendees, Alexander caught himself glancing at Maya more often than necessary. She was reviewing her notes about the attendees they might meet, completely focused on doing well tonight. He realized that what had started as a business arrangement was becoming something else entirely. Maya was changing his world in small but significant ways, and he was not sure he wanted it to be temporary anymore. The night of the charity gala arrived faster than Maya had expected. She stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting the stunning emerald green gown Alexander had chosen for her. The dress was more expensive than her car, and she felt the weight of the evening ahead pressing down on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alexander. "Pick up in 20 minutes. You're going to be amazing tonight." Maya smiled despite her nerves. Over the past month, their relationship had shifted in ways neither of them had planned. What started as awkward rehearsals had become comfortable conversations. Their fake touches and staged smiles had begun feeling natural. Tonight, they would face Victoria and David for the first time, and Maya knew this was what everything had been building toward. Alexander arrived looking devastatingly handsome in his black tuxedo. When he saw Maya, he stopped mid-step and simply stared. "You look incredible," he said, his voice softer than usual. "The dress is doing all the work," Maya replied, but she felt beautiful under his gaze. "No, it's not just the dress. It's you." The drive to the hotel was quiet, both of them lost in their own thoughts. Maya reviewed everything she had learned about the people they would meet tonight, while Alexander tried to calm the unexpected nervousness he felt about seeing Victoria again. The grand ballroom was filled with the city's elite, all dressed in their finest clothes and jewelry. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables decorated with white roses and gold accents. Maya had attended events like this during her training, but tonight felt different. Tonight she was not just practicing. "There they are," Alexander murmured, nodding toward a couple near the bar, Victoria and David. Maya followed his gaze and saw a tall blonde woman in a red dress standing next to a man with perfect hair and an expensive watch. Victoria was beautiful in an untouchable way, like a magazine cover come to life. Maya felt a stab of insecurity but pushed it down. "She's very pretty," Maya said honestly. "She's also very cold," Alexander replied, surprising himself with how little he felt looking at his ex-wife. "Come on, let's get this over with." They approached the bar and Victoria turned at the sound of Alexander's voice ordering drinks. Her blue eyes widened slightly when she saw him, then narrowed as they moved to Maya. "Alexander," Victoria said, her tone carefully neutral. "How wonderful to see you." "Victoria, David." Alexander's voice was equally controlled. "I'd like you to meet Maya Rodriguez, my girlfriend." Maya stepped forward with the confidence Catherine had taught her. "It's lovely to meet you both. Alexander has told me so much about his past business ventures." David shifted uncomfortably, while Victoria's smile became even more forced. "How nice. And what do you do, Maya?" "I'm a graphic designer. I actually helped with the marketing materials for tonight's event," Maya replied smoothly, which was true. Alexander had hired her design skills for several recent projects. "How creative," Victoria said, the word sounding like an insult. For the next hour, Maya watched Alexander work the room like the successful businessman he was. Donors approached him constantly, and he introduced her to everyone as his girlfriend, his hand never leaving her back or arm. She found herself genuinely enjoying many of the conversations, especially with the foundation's director who was passionate about helping underprivileged children. "You two make a lovely couple," an elderly woman told them during dinner. "There's something so natural about the way you interact." Maya glanced at Alexander, who was looking at her with an expression she could not quite read. "Thank you," she said, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. After dinner, Alexander was called to the stage to give his speech as the foundation's largest donor. Maya watched from their table as he spoke about the importance of giving children opportunities to succeed, regardless of their background. His words were passionate and personal, and she realized there were depths to Alexander she was still discovering. "He's quite impressive, isn't he?" a voice said beside her. Maya turned to find Victoria sliding into Alexander's empty chair. "Yes, he is," Maya replied carefully. "You know, Alexander and I have a lot of history together. We built something special before things went wrong." Victoria's tone was casual, but her eyes were calculating. "I hope you understand that some connections never really disappear." Maya felt her stomach tighten. "I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I'm just wondering if you know what you're getting into." Alexander is a complicated man with complicated feelings about the past. Sometimes people think they've moved on when they really haven't. Before Maya could respond, Alexander returned to the table. He immediately sensed the tension between the two women. "Is everything okay here?" he asked, placing his hand on Maya's shoulder. "Of course," Victoria said, standing gracefully. "Maya and I were just getting acquainted. I should get back to David. Congratulations on your speech, Alexander. It was very heartfelt." After Victoria left, Alexander sat down and studied Maya's face. "What did she say to you?" "Nothing important," Maya lied, not wanting to ruin the evening. "Your speech was beautiful. I had no idea you grew up in foster care." Alexander's expression softened. "It's not something I talk about often. But these kids deserve every chance we can give them." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of dancing and conversations. Maya found herself laughing at Alexander's quiet jokes and feeling proud when people complimented them as a couple. When they danced to the slow songs, she fit perfectly in his arms, and for moments at a time she forgot they were acting. "Thank you," Alexander whispered during their last dance. "You were perfect tonight." "So were you," Maya replied, looking up into his eyes. For a moment they moved closer, and Maya thought he might kiss her. Then the song ended, and the spell was broken. The drive home was quiet again, but this time the silence felt charged with unspoken words. When Alexander walked Maya to her apartment door, they stood facing each other under the porch light. "Tonight went better than I hoped," Alexander said. Victoria looked like she was ready to explode with jealousy. Maya's heart sank a little. Of course this was still about Victoria for him. "I'm glad I could help," she said, reaching for her keys. "Maya, wait." Alexander caught her hand. "I need to tell you something." She looked up at him, hope and fear warring in her chest. "These past weeks with you have been the best I've had in years. I know this started as a business arrangement, but you've become important to me." "Really important?" Maya's breath caught. "Alexander, I know our deal has an end date, but I don't want this to end. I don't want us to end." Before Maya could respond, her phone rang loudly. She glanced at the screen and saw it was the hospital. "I have to take this," she said, her voice filled with sudden panic. "Hello?" Alexander watched Maya's face go pale as she listened to the voice on the other end. "Yes, I'll be right there," Maya said, hanging up. She looked at Alexander with tears in her eyes. "It's my mother. She's had another episode. They want me to come to the hospital right away." "I'll drive you," Alexander said immediately. "No, you don't have to do that. This isn't part of our agreement." "Forget the agreement, Maya. I'm coming with you." At the hospital, Maya paced the waiting room while Alexander called in favors to get Rosa the best possible care. When the doctor finally came out with good news, Maya collapsed into a chair with relief. "She's going to be fine," the doctor assured them, "but she needs surgery to prevent this from happening again. It's expensive, but it's necessary." Maya's face crumpled. Even with her payment from Alexander, she could not afford major surgery. "What are the options?" Alexander asked the doctor, taking out his phone. "Alexander, no," Maya said firmly. "You've done enough. This is my responsibility. Maya, let me help." "No." Maya's voice was louder than she intended. "I can't keep taking your money. This arrangement was supposed to be temporary and professional, but you're making it complicated and I can't think straight anymore." Alexander stared at her, hurt and confusion clear on his face. "I'm trying to help someone I care about." "But why do you care?" Maya demanded. "Is this real or am I just another business project for you? Another way to prove you're better than the man Victoria left?" The words hung between them like a wall. Alexander looked like she had slapped him. "I think I should go," he said quietly. "Call me when you're ready to talk about this reasonably." As Alexander walked away, Maya sank back into the hospital chair and put her head in her hands. Everything was falling apart, and she had no idea how to fix it. 3 days passed without a word between Maya and Alexander. Maya spent most of her time at the hospital with her mother, who was recovering well but still needed surgery. The medical bills were piling up, and Maya had applied for every loan and assistance program she could find. Her pride would not let her call Alexander, even though she knew he could solve her problems with a single phone call. Alexander, meanwhile, was miserable. His penthouse felt even emptier than usual, and work could not distract him from replaying their fight over and over in his mind. He had handled the situation badly, he knew that now. But Maya's words had cut deep, because part of him wondered if she was right. Was he just trying to prove something to Victoria, or were his feelings for Maya real? On Thursday morning, Alexander's assistant Jennifer knocked on his office door. "Mr. Kane, Victoria Sterling is here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent." Alexander's stomach tightened. "Send her in." Victoria swept into his office wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. She looked as perfect as always, but Alexander felt nothing except annoyance at the interruption. "Victoria, what can I do for you?" he asked, not bothering to stand or offer her a seat. "I wanted to talk about the other night." "About us?" Victoria sat down anyway, crossing her legs elegantly. "Seeing you again brought back so many memories, Alexander. Good memories. I'm not interested in taking a trip down memory lane. David and I have been having problems," Victoria continued as if he had not spoken. "Planning this wedding has made me realize I might be making a mistake. I keep thinking about what we had, what we could have again." Alexander stared at her in disbelief. "Are you seriously sitting in my office telling me you want to leave your fiancé for me?" "I made a mistake when I left you, Alexander. I was young and scared when your business was struggling. But look at what you've built. Look at who you've become. I always knew you had it in you." "No, you didn't," Alexander said coldly. "You told me I would never amount to anything. You said I was a dreamer who would never succeed." Victoria's cheeks flushed slightly. "I was hurt and angry. People say things they don't mean when they're emotional. But you did mean it. And you know what? I'm glad you left. It taught me who I really am and what I'm capable of." "What about that girl you brought to the gala? Maya?" Victoria's tone turned sharp. "Surely you don't think that's real?" "She's clearly with you for your money, Alexander. I saw how she looked at everything, like she'd never seen wealth before." Alexander stood up abruptly, anger flooding through him. "Don't you dare talk about Maya like that. She's worth 10 of you. So it is serious then?" Victoria's eyes narrowed. "How convenient that you found love right when I'm getting married." "Are you trying to make me jealous, Alexander?" "This conversation is over," Alexander said, walking to his office door and opening it. "Jennifer, please escort Mrs. Sterling out." After Victoria left, Alexander sat alone in his office for a long time, thinking about her words. Was he using Maya to make Victoria jealous? When they first met, revenge had definitely been part of his motivation. But somewhere along the way, Maya had become the most important part of his day. Her laugh, her honesty, the way she made him want to be a better person. None of that had anything to do with Victoria. That evening, Alexander drove to Maya's apartment building. He had been fighting the urge to check on her for 3 days, but Victoria's visit had made him realize he could not let pride keep him away from the woman he loved. Yes, loved. The word did not scare him anymore. He knocked on Maya's door, holding a bouquet of sunflowers he had remembered her admiring at the farmer's market. But when the door opened, it was not Maya who answered. "Mr. Kane," Rosa said, looking surprised but pleased. "Maya is not here. She's working late at the coffee shop." "How are you feeling, Mrs. Rodriguez?" Alexander asked, genuinely concerned. "Better, thank you. The surgery is scheduled for next week." Rosa studied his face carefully. "You and my daughter had a fight. It was not a question." Alexander nodded. "I think I messed everything up." "Come in," Rosa said, stepping aside. "Let me make you some coffee and you can tell me what happened." Alexander found himself sitting at Maya's small kitchen table, pouring his heart out to her mother. He told Rosa everything, from his original plan for revenge against Victoria to his growing feelings for Maya, to their fight at the hospital. "I think I love your daughter," he admitted finally, "but I'm not sure she believes my feelings are real." Rosa was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. "Maya has been hurt before," she said finally. "Her father left when she was 15, told her he needed to find himself. She's been taking care of everyone else ever since, afraid to let anyone take care of her." I want to take care of her, Alexander said, but she won't let me. Then you need to show her that your love is not about what you can give her, but about who she is. Maya needs to know she's enough just as she is. When Alexander left Rosa's apartment, he drove straight to the coffee shop where Maya worked her evening shift. Through the window, he could see her wiping down tables, looking tired but still beautiful. He sat in his car for 20 minutes trying to find the courage to go inside. Finally, he walked into the coffee shop just as Maya was flipping the sign to closed. She looked up and froze when she saw him. "We're closed," she said quietly. "I'm not here for coffee. I'm here for you." Maya continued cleaning, not meeting his eyes. "Alexander, I can't do this anymore. This whole arrangement has gotten too complicated." "You're right, it has gotten complicated, because I fell in love with you." Maya's hand stilled on the table she was wiping. "Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Because this whole thing started as a lie. How can I trust that anything you're feeling is real?" Alexander moved closer to her. "Look at me, Maya." Reluctantly, she raised her eyes to his. "Victoria came to see me today," he said. Maya's face went pale. "Oh, she wants to get back together. She wants to leave David and try again with me." Maya turned away, her shoulders sagging. "I see. Well, that must make you happy. You got what you wanted." "No, Maya, you don't understand." I told her no. I told her I wasn't interested because I'm in love with someone else. "I'm in love with you." Maya spun around to face him. "How do I know this isn't just part of the game? How do I know you're not just saying this because you think it's what I want to hear?" "Because Victoria was right about one thing," Alexander said, taking Maya's hands in his. "When this started, part of me did want to make her jealous. But that stopped mattering weeks ago. You matter. Your laugh matters. The way you worry about your mother matters. The way you make me want to be a better man matters." Tears started falling down Maya's cheeks. "Alexander, I'm scared." "So am I," he admitted. "I'm scared that I'll mess this up. I'm scared that I'm not good enough for you, but I'm more scared of losing you." Before Maya could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went white. "It's the hospital again," she whispered. Alexander drove Maya to the hospital in tense silence. This time the news was not good. Rosa's condition had worsened, and she needed emergency surgery immediately. The cost had doubled, and even with insurance, the family would be responsible for over $50,000. "I'll pay for it," Alexander said immediately. "No," Maya said firmly, even as tears streamed down her face. "I can't keep taking your money. I won't be another charity case for you to fix. Maya, please let me help." "I said no." Maya's voice broke. "Don't you understand? I need to know that what's between us is real, not just you feeling sorry for me and my problems." Alexander watched helplessly as Maya walked toward the surgical waiting area alone. He had never felt more powerless in his life. All his money meant nothing if the woman he loved would not let him use it to help her. As he sat in his car outside the hospital, Alexander realized that loving Maya meant respecting her choices, even when those choices broke his heart. But he also knew he could not just walk away and let her struggle alone. He had to find another way to show Maya that his love was real, a way that had nothing to do with his wealth and everything to do with his heart. Maya had not slept in 36 hours. She sat in the hospital waiting room, still wearing her coffee shop uniform, watching the clock move slowly toward dawn. Her mother's surgery had been successful, but the recovery would be long and expensive. Maya had signed papers promising to pay the hospital bill, even though she had no idea how she would manage it. Alexander had tried calling and texting, but Maya had turned off her phone. She needed space to think, to figure out what was real and what was just her heart wanting something that might not exist. A nurse approached her with a clipboard. "Miss Rodriguez, there's been a development with your mother's account." Maya's stomach dropped. "What kind of development?" "It appears someone has set up a payment plan through our charitable foundation. The entire balance has been covered by an anonymous donor." "You don't owe anything." Maya stared at the nurse in shock. "That's impossible. The bill was over $50,000. Yes, it's quite generous. Whoever did this also arranged for your mother to have private nursing care during her recovery." Maya knew immediately who had done this, and anger flooded through her tired body. She had specifically told Alexander no, and he had gone behind her back anyway. She grabbed her purse and marched out of the hospital, determined to find him and give him a piece of her mind. But when Maya arrived at Alexander's office building, his assistant Jennifer told her he was not there. He's been at his grandmother's house since yesterday, Jennifer said. I think she's not doing well. Maya felt her anger deflate slightly. His grandmother is sick? She's been in and out of the hospital for weeks. Mr. Kane has been spending all his free time with her. Maya left the office building feeling confused and guilty. Here she was, furious with Alexander for helping her family, while he was dealing with his own family crisis. She realized she did not even know he had a grandmother, which made her feel even worse. She found the address and drove to a modest house in an older neighborhood. It was nothing like Alexander's penthouse, warm and lived in with a garden full of flowers and a porch swing. Maya knocked on the front door, not sure what she would say. Alexander opened the door and Maya was shocked by his appearance. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, and his eyes were red with exhaustion and worry. Maya, he said, surprise clear in his voice. What are you doing here? I came to yell at you for paying my mother's medical bills, Maya said. But Jennifer told me about your grandmother. Alexander's face crumpled slightly. She's dying, he said simply. The doctors say she has maybe a few days left. Without thinking, Maya stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Alexander held her tightly and she could feel him shaking with grief. I'm so sorry, Maya whispered. I should have been here for you. You had your own family to worry about, Alexander said into her hair. How is your mother? She's going to be fine, thanks to you. Alexander, about the hospital bill. Let's not fight about that now, he said quietly. Please. I just wanted to help. Maya pulled back to look at his face. Can I meet her? Your grandmother? Alexander hesitated. She's very weak. And she's the only person who knows the truth about our arrangement. I told her everything weeks ago. That's okay. I'd like to meet the woman who raised you. Alexander led Maya into a cozy bedroom where a tiny elderly woman lay surrounded by family photos and flowers. Despite her frail appearance, her eyes were sharp and kind. Grandma, this is Maya, Alexander said softly. The old woman smiled and gestured for Maya to come closer. So you're the girl who's got my grandson all twisted up in knots. Maya laughed despite the sad circumstances. I guess I am. Good, Alexander's grandmother said firmly. He was getting too serious before you came along. Sit down, dear. Tell me about yourself. For the next hour, Maya found herself sharing stories about her mother, her work, and her dreams, while Alexander's grandmother listened with genuine interest. The old woman had a way of making Maya feel comfortable, like they had known each other for years. Alexander told me this started as a business arrangement, his grandmother said eventually. But I've been watching him these past weeks and I've never seen him happier. He talks about you constantly. Maya glanced at Alexander, who was sitting quietly in the corner. Really? Oh yes. Maya said this, Maya did that, Maya made me laugh. It was quite nauseating, actually, the old woman said with a twinkle in her eye. Alexander blushed. Grandma, don't you grandma me, young man. This girl is the best thing that's happened to you. And if you're too stubborn to see it, then you're not as smart as I thought you were. That evening, Alexander's grandmother passed away peacefully in her sleep. Maya stayed with Alexander through the night, holding his hand and listening to him share memories of the woman who had raised him after his parents died. She taught me everything important, Alexander said through his tears. How to be honest, how to work hard, how to treat people with respect. She would have loved you. I think she did love me, Maya said softly, and I loved her too. The funeral was small and simple, just as Alexander's grandmother had wanted. Maya stood beside Alexander as he spoke about the woman who had shaped his life, and she realized that this was where she belonged. Not because of any contract or arrangement, but because she loved this man and wanted to share both his joys and his sorrows. After the service, Alexander and Maya walked through his grandmother's garden in silence. Finally, Alexander stopped by a bench under an apple tree. I need to tell you something, he said. The hospital bill for your mother, I didn't pay it. Maya looked at him in confusion. What do you mean? I wanted to, but I knew you would hate me for it. So I called the hospital's charitable foundation and told them about your family's situation. They have a fund for exactly these circumstances. I didn't contribute any money to it. But the nurse said it was an anonymous donor. It was. Dozens of them, actually. The foundation gets donations from all over the city. Your mother qualified for help based on her medical needs and your financial situation, not because of me. Maya stared at him. You're telling me you didn't pay the bill? I'm telling you that sometimes good things happen to good people, and it has nothing to do with me or my money. Your mother deserved that help." Maya felt tears start to fall. "Why didn't you tell me this at the hospital?" "Because you were so angry and I was hurt that you thought I was trying to buy your love. I figured you would find out eventually. Alexander, I'm so sorry. I've been terrible to you." "No, you haven't. You've been protecting yourself, and I understand that. But Maya, I need you to know that my feelings for you have nothing to do with our original arrangement. I love you because you're kind and funny and smart. I love you because you make me want to be better than I am. I love you because you see me as just Alexander, not as a bank account or a business success." Maya threw her arms around his neck. "I love you too. I've been fighting it because I was scared, but I love you so much it terrifies me." Alexander pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "This was my grandmother's. She gave it to me yesterday and told me not to let you get away." Inside the box was a simple gold ring with a small diamond, worn smooth by years of love. "Maya Rodriguez, will you marry me? Not because of any contract or arrangement, but because I can't imagine my life without you." "Yes," Maya said through her tears. "Yes, of course, yes." 6 months later, Maya and Alexander had a small wedding in his grandmother's garden. Rosa, fully recovered and radiant, walked Maya down the aisle while Alexander's business partners and Maya's friends celebrated around them. As they exchanged vows under the apple tree, Maya thought about how much their lives had changed. Alexander had hired her as his company's creative director, and together they had started a foundation to help families facing medical crises. Their love story had begun with a lie, but it had grown into the most honest and beautiful thing either of them had ever experienced. Sometimes the best things in life came when you least expected them, and sometimes taking a chance on something that seemed impossible led to everything you never knew you wanted. "I love you, Mrs. Kane," Alexander whispered as they danced their first dance as husband and wife. "I love you too, Mr. Kane," Maya replied, smiling up at the man who had become her whole world. "Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like," Alexander said, spinning her around as their friends and family cheered. And as the sun set over their new beginning, both Maya and Alexander knew that the best part of their story was just beginning.